and I think one piece of it for me is like when I think of social media, I want conversations to happen, right? To me, it's not just about putting stuff there. I want the conversations to open up. And that's something that I'm always looking for. Or is like, how am I actually engaging with the people that engage on my content? Or how do I engage with people who have come into my community to, to just continue to build that relationship? That's been
That's
an,
so perfect because
yeah.
in the sense of like your calls to action, because you
Hmm.
do want to have calls to action in your
Hmm.
post, but it could be just to comment. And I say just, that's not actually a diminished, concept of a call to action is to make a comment, but hey, I want to hear from you. What do you guys think? Or I'm posting this poll. And I talk about this all the time. Your linking ratio is that the algorithm doesn't want you driving content away from their platform all the time. So you have to consider what is the end result of my call to action.
Hello, my extraordinary women friends. If showing up on social media has ever felt awkward or performative or like just one more thing on your list, you are going to love this conversation. Shawn Teasley is the founder of Social Tonic, a marketing and social media agency that brings strategy and sustainability to the way business owners show up online. Through her work as a strategist, trainer, and social media leader, she helps business owners clarify their voice, build authentic presence, and create real connection with their audience. She brings deep insights into what makes content work, not just for the algorithm, but for your brand, your vision, and your long-term client relationships. In today's episode, we're talking about visibility that feels natural, connection that fuels business growth, and what it takes to stay consistent without burning out. And speaking of visibility, we're just weeks away from the Extraordinary Women Ignite conference, where women entrepreneurs raise their voice, grow their visibility, and say yes to their biggest vision yet. If you've been hearing the call, this is your invitation to step in. Use the code EWR for $200 off your ticket at CamiGellner.com/ignite. We hope to see you there. Now let's dive into this powerful conversation with Shawn Teasley.
Well, welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio, Shawn. I am so excited to have you here today. I love to talk about social media, and I know you're such an expert in this field. So I'm looking forward to hearing your wisdom and all the good stuff. But first of all, just welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been really fun seeing your business in action and what you bring to your clients. I know you bring such good work to your clients, but tell us a bit about your story of building Social Tonic. I know it's grown a lot in the last few years, so just give us a kind of the synopsis of how your business has grown over the last few years.
So I started about 8 years ago, and I was a solopreneur for 5 of those.
Yeah.
I was one of the people who got stuck in the fear of bringing on a team and what that looks like to support a team and have the pressure of team members, right? Of their finance, like supporting them financially and their
Exactly.
families and things. So that took, let's see, I've always had like a couple of very limited contractors, but then lately in the last 2 years is when I've like really grown my team. And that has felt so different, so new. And just the shift from solopreneurship to business owner and like leading a team has been an evolution for me and something I just really needed to drop into because when it's just you get to be the boss. And this is a great example, actually. It's not quite the same, but I was working with another consultant and we were working side by sides and we were equals. And I stopped when we were like creating this event that we were putting on together. And I was like, I am having a really interesting experience. I'm so used to being the boss and we're equals. And what it looks like to not be the one that's leading everything. And so I feel like over time, over the last 2 years, I've quickly moved into this role of the leader, but also the person that all the clients know and have the relationship with. And now I get to develop my team and going through some of the Enneagram and understanding like who they are as
Mm-hmm.
individuals and what
Oh, you're
lights
bringing
them
that
up.
into the mix of it.
I am,
Awesome.
I am
Awesome.
love the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And so that piece has helped me as a leader, and as a 9 who is the mediator and the peacekeeper and all of that too. Like, I want to know what's happening in their lives and how they will feel supported and developed in their careers as well. And also, just like, it's vacation season. So when my team's coming back from vacations, we all hear about what's happening to create that like really holistic feel of, we all know what's going on in each other's lives. And it's been
Yeah.
a really lovely journey. I wouldn't have expected this. Starting out, I wanted to support a few clients, and now we support a few more.
That's awesome, because I mean, you can really make a bigger difference as your team has grown, because you can
Mm-hmm.
serve more clients. And I love the way that you have such a customer centric approach to your work. You've got a really good insight into what your customers need and meeting them where they're at, and being able to create socials for them that really makes a difference. And you have such dedication to the excellence of your work. I really admire that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah.
things that comes up a lot is like the false beliefs that clients have. And
Right.
one of those for me that I run into is that nobody is going to be able to do it as well as I can, or nobody is
Right.
going to be able to mirror my tone and tonality and voice and message. And when you do find a partner that is like just an amazingly deep listener and who sees you, it does shift. But it also has to be the right fit. I am not afraid to say we're not the right fit for a client, and we have done that many times. And luckily, I have a good referral system of other people that might be a better fit.
Yeah.
But if it is a good fit and you know who they are, where they're coming from, and what lights them up, it's lovely then to take this piece off of their plate.
Yeah.
But I mean, they still have complete control over it. They just
Right.
get to not have to think so much about it.
Right. You bring all the strategy and the insights behind it. How do you really tap into your client's voice? I mean, I know that's something you really pride yourself on, and is being able to tap into your client's voice and bring their voice to life, and even in a bigger way than they could do on their own. How do you tap into that?
It's really in this discovery calls.
Hmm.
So I do record everything so that the rest of my team can watch it. If I'm just having a one-on-one conversation, then the rest of them can see it later too as we
Hmm.
develop that content. But specifically, no matter if we're doing done for you content on a monthly basis for a client, or we're doing the 4-month training package that we offer, we start everything with a strategy.
Yeah.
So in that strategy phase, it is a lot of downloading from them, and it's constant interviews. And so we create these really thought provoking questions to get to the core of what that message is and who it's being spoken to and who it needs to be received from. Also, if they've already done some of this legwork in creating their ideal avatars and they know who their customers are and things like that, we're taking that in and putting that into the strategy as well. But it's, I think a part of a core of who I am is I was a recruiter for 6 years. I know how to ask the questions to get to the places of rawness and
Mm.
what's going to move the needle in their businesses as well. Like my business mindset plus like just asking the right questions to get what I want to know, which
Right.
is also what the rest of their audience is more than likely wanting as well.
Awesome. I love that so much. So as you have your hands in all sorts of social media platforms. How is
Mm-hmm.
social media changing right now?
Well, there's the obvious, right, of X, Twitter,
Yeah.
and the change there. And
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
I don't have clients that are going that direction where they didn't have an X account before and now they are, right? It is a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe we'll just keep that account alive and only post like once or twice a month over there,
Yeah.
right? So
That
that's a
closed a long
shift.
time ago for me.
I bet it did. For your clients, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
no sense for
Exactly.
you and
Exactly.
your group of people. But I think right now, I do specialize in B2B. So we are on LinkedIn. We offer like packages where we create content for either like the executive, the CEO, and the brand and the company,
Mhm.
and how those like are a strategy between sharing of those different profiles. And so I think that's a really big one is thinking about it more than just the individual, but the brand and how those two can intermingle. Because let's say the CEO of the company could have a following of 10,000, but the brand has like 900, right? And we need to tap into that CEO's sphere of influence and who's following by cross promoting in those areas too. And like for you, you're only posting on your personal LinkedIn, right?
Right.
And so like
Right.
we have to take that into consideration. Maybe it's just not a smart idea to like develop out the company's page as well. So it's all about this like strategy phase that we start with, and to understand where are those individuals who are the ideal clients, and where are they spending time, and where do they expect to see your content as well.
Yeah.
I do work a lot in the travel industry, and sometimes that is appropriate over on LinkedIn, depending. Like I have a client that we talk about her more as a business owner and developing her business,
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying, take this tour, book this thing. But then the people that are in and following her, they see her as this strong entrepreneur that's building something beautiful. And if they go to her destination, you better believe they're going to reach out to her, because they follow and they see what she's building and how fun it is.
Yeah.
That strategy of what we do for her personally on LinkedIn versus what we do on Facebook, those are completely different things.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important part is that each different platform is going to have a different type of strategy, the type of content you would be
Hmm.
bringing out. Is that true?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there are some platforms that we can mirror the content a lot, but also there are ways that you can easily repurpose. And sometimes that's just starting the carousel with a different image or a different concept first, that
So
is
it looks
actually
different.
just, it looks different. And so
Yeah.
they're not like, oh, I just saw that on Facebook. Why is she posting that over here on Instagram?
Oh, that's a good point.
There's the difference between Instagram carousels, right? Is something you sort through or you swipe through,
You
versus
swipe through 'em.
Facebook doesn't have that. It's a cluster of photos. So
Right.
even if you do put it up as a carousel, it shows differently. And so sometimes it's just better to make that into a video and have
Yeah.
that like go through in animation versus using it as a carousel. So
Yeah.
there's
On Facebook,
different
that's a better.
tweaks. Yeah,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah. And do you do much with Instagram? I know that's my area of least focus when I look across my
So
socials.
let's break it down. So you're posting on LinkedIn and Instagram,
I mean, Facebook is
Facebook.
I have a large
Yeah, you have your
following on
group.
Facebook. Yeah, I have my group. I have
Hmm.
the Facebook group. So I get the most engagement on Facebook all day long. LinkedIn is one that I've put a lot more effort into this year, and I actually really like LinkedIn. We do Instagram, but we do it. There's not like a lot of strategy behind it, and it
Hmm.
shows up that way too.
Sure. Well, and for instance, like I'll give my example is that my following, or the thought that I'm going to get clients from Instagram for
Hmm.
a social media company is pretty low, and just working on B2B. So on my Instagram, I just have a few posts, and then it says you'll find us more active over on LinkedIn, because that's where
Right.
we are active and creating that content. So
Hmm.
the permission for you then in this case is to say like, yeah, maybe if you post 3 times a week on Facebook and LinkedIn, only post over there on Instagram once a week. I mean,
Yeah.
don't push it because you think you should.
Yeah.
Really
I
like
think that's
test it out, and
yeah.
just, there's a lot of shoulds that comes with just social media in general, because we
Right.
see, and especially if we think about like more of the Facebook and Instagram style of posting, is this comparison model. But once you remove yourself from comparing yourself to other people and
Oh,
give
so good.
yourself that liberty, I many times start a discovery call by saying, you have permission to not hire me. You have permission to not post, and you have permission to say, maybe this is for next year, like, but let's
Yeah.
talk about it. And or if Instagram is something, this is one of the channels that come up more frequently with clients, is they, oh, it's just this like black hole, like I go over there and I want to do something for business, and then it's like 40 minutes later I realize like I'm in the workday and I just watched Instagram for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's when you need to outsource,
Yeah.
because if you really do desire to be over there, don't get sucked in. And I tell
Yeah.
clients this on like the Facebook side of things. On your toolbar in your browser, save your shortcuts link to the backside of your Facebook account so that you never even see the feed. Nothing's going
Interesting.
to tempt you to scroll down through the feed on your desktop because you're only looking at the backside of Facebook.
That's a really good one. That's a great tip.
The protection over your mental health is really important in this space. I am very protective and also mention this a lot. I can't control what my employees do and my team does, but I mention this a lot. Like, we do this and also protect your time and sanity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important because it's, we all know the stats behind social media where you can get sucked into social media and how the algorithms will keep us there.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yep.
is smart as business owners to really think through how we leverage social media. And I think one piece of it for me is like when I think of social media, I want conversations to happen, right? To me, it's not just about putting stuff there. I want the conversations to open up. And that's something that I'm always looking for is like, how am I actually engaging with the people that engage on my content? Or how do I engage with people who have come into my community to, to just continue to build that relationship? That's been
That's so perfect. Because
yeah.
in the sense of like your calls to action, because you
Mm-hmm.
do want to have calls to action in your
Mm-hmm.
post, but it could be just to comment. And I say just, that's not actually a diminished, concept of a call to action is to make a comment, but hey, I want to hear from you. What do you guys think? Or I'm posting this poll. And I talk about this all the time. Your linking ratio is that the algorithm doesn't want you driving content away from their platform all the time. So you have to consider what is the end result of my call to action. And I abide by the rule of less than 50% or less have links going out. But
Okay.
there's all sorts of conversational starters. And just like with you, you have the newsletter and articles and things that keeps them inside of the platform on LinkedIn. And that's not, even though that's a link, it's not driving them off the platform. So that keeps them there. And so
Mm-hmm.
like in your sense, I wouldn't consider that as one of the, outbound links
Okay. That's
too.
good to
So
know.
but this concept, though, of asking and engaging, because, when you look at the metrics on things, and yeah, likes, they're important. But how many times have you seen somebody out in real life and they're like, oh my gosh, I saw your post about blah, blah, blah. And they quote the entire post and they didn't like it
Yeah.
or they
Yeah.
didn't comment on it. It
Yeah.
happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
So the vanity metric of a like is actually just so low level. It's the conversation, it's the building the community. So what is it that is going to drive more shares or shares that like a repost or a
Uh-huh.
DM to a girlfriend that says, you got to read this. This
Yeah.
feels really valid for you, or gosh,
Yeah.
this hit home today. So it's
Yeah.
thinking about it in that sense
So
of
that you
call to
get
actions.
where somebody lands in that content, and I want to talk about content here, but somebody lands in your content and is like really drawn into it, right? They're
Hmm.
like they learned something new or they had a different perspective and it got them thinking about a whole new idea. So bringing your own unique ideas to the table. So what does make great content right now? I mean, what when you're
Okay, let's
advising
give an
working with your
example.
clients? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's give this example from today. So, our mutual friend Janine made a really great post today because of what's happening, the shift with the Denver city and counties and things with the layoffs, right? So she
Uh-huh.
made this post. It was a ginormous, juicy resource, right? For anybody that might be in a space of like
Mm-hmm.
going through the crap. Things are changing for me. And so I love this example actually. So I read her post today. It had so many good resources in it. I ended up going back 3 times making separate comments because it still lingered in my head. So the first thing I made a
Mm-hmm.
comment of like, oh my gosh, this was so good. There's so many people that are going to find this as an immense resource.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, my client, the Project Management Institute, has an amazing support group that is for job seekers. and they meet on a weekly basis, and they have speakers, and they, look at your resume, they look at your LinkedIn profile, and there's all these options. So then I put that as I went back and I commented like, oh my gosh, this is also another resource for anybody that's stumbling upon this article. And then I came back and gave another resource of another source up in Boulder that is a great email list of jobs, high level jobs that a lot of people would be interested in. So it's that post that is a lot of giving. Yeah. And then you think, how could I also give to this? Because I know a lot of people are going to be looking for this right now.
And it's really relevant, right? I mean, it's just so relevant to the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. I love it. And everyone just tuning in, it's Janine Vanderberg who made that post. So if you're not following her on social media and over on LinkedIn, she's definitely a good one to follow. And she talks about ageism all the time, and really uplifting people who, just changing the narrative around ageism and helping consultants build consultancy businesses as well. So she's doing some just amazing work. So that's a great example.
Great
I love
work.
that so much. Yeah. Yeah. So what do most people get wrong when showing up on social media?
Well, I think right now is not hitting the publish button. It's like the overthinking.
Yeah.
Right? There are so many people, and I am going to call out our fellow women on this, is that they create a post and 14 edits later, they still haven't published it. I see this in conversation a lot and in networking. And this is when that piece that comes up is like, I know I should be doing it. Well, let me just give you the permission card to not, and then let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And also just to like show up as yourself and not to revise and revise and revise.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like the thing. I did read Mel Robbins', oh gosh, what was her most recent book? The Let Them Theory. One thing that stood out so massively in that book to me is that she admits that it took her 2 years to start talking on social media about her speaking career. 2 years.
Yeah.
And this is like a public speaker. And I run into women who are like, this is where I want to go. I want to be more vocal. I want to be in front of more audiences. Well, it has to start with, just even your social media content. So it's really just hitting the button of publish and not overthinking it.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. You talk a lot about connection over performance. What does that mean to you?
As business owners, many times we're out networking and you make these connections in person and you're like, hey, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. But if you're not leaving these little breadcrumbs, which I would consider social media posts for your new connections to start following you and seeing where you're showing up on stages or in other networking events, or just like what's changing in your industry, you're creating that connection that isn't being fed and nurtured, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're DMing them on a weekly basis or anything, but you are leaving something behind to start enriching that conversation and to help build the trust that if you just met someone, like for instance, I was at a networking event in downtown Denver. I met a woman who owns like a bookkeeping service. And now we're friends. And in a couple of weeks later, now I have a discovery call set with her because she's seen some of my content that's been going out. And it's like, yeah, okay, I do trust her. The like trust has been built by seeing me show up in her feed.
Yeah.
And it reiterates the vibe that you did get at an in-person meeting or just even in a virtual meeting setting too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, when you get out in person with people and that social connection that we can keep, that's the beauty of social media. It's like we can go build relationships. I just was in Dallas for the eWomen Network conference last week and had so many wonderful conversations with women. And if we didn't have the social media connection, that's the first thing I do when I'm leaving is I literally start going and connecting with the people that I have met in person on social media so that I can continue that relationship. I can, get to know what they love in life and build that sort of thing. And to me, that feels really organic and very natural to keep and build those relationships that way. Because if we didn't have social media, you'd leave that conference and you'd forget the connections because there's just no touch point there.
It's kind of like a leave behind that keeps, coming up over and over. And you can kind of think about it as a nurture email campaign in a sense, because you do keep showing up. It's a touch point.
Yeah.
But it also takes then later you commenting on their posts and then a DM here and there.
Yeah, exactly. And giving value back. I mean, it's like, this might be useful for you, or, just that basic connection back to people that you can help people, something that could be useful to them. Come to this free thing, or this article might be interesting, or, it even goes back to, I'm trying to think of the book. God, it's an ancient book. And, gosh, I'm not going to remember the name of it right now, but it's like really old. I mean, it's like from the 60s and 70s, a book about friends. And it's like
how to win friends and influence people.
That's the book. That's the book I was thinking of.
And marketing in college. I remember reading that.
Yeah. And so, but it's like, it goes back to those very basics of how do you stay in connection with people. And I remember early in my career, I worked for a man who was really good at that. He was in Rotary, and he would send personal notes to people all the time, and back then it was a letter that he would send to people, right? I mean, it'd be like, oh, you might like this article, and, and he'd send this article off to somebody. We have so much more at our fingertips now that we can actually do this in a much different way. So yeah, I love it. I love it. So, and you hit on this a moment ago. You said, the likes and follows are good, but what are you tracking for success when you're looking at your clients' metrics? What are you looking at that helps understand what's working and what's not working?
Well, let's say that we're posting on behalf of a team, and we're doing the social media to help a sales team in their efforts, right? And so that they have things to be able to talk about and share. And so in that situation, I'm looking to see how many reposts are happening from each of the types of content. And then if I notice that there's a salesperson that's not resharing our content, I might ask them, hey, what would be a piece of content that is of value that you would want to reshare? And then you can get all kinds of really interesting ideas from that. But if you're creating something to support a sales team in their efforts looking really good, it's all about the reshares. And it can be just like the repost, or it could be in the form of a DM.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
The question on that, because so that I'm just trying to put that into an entrepreneur's world where there's not a big team of salespeople. But you could be asking your community, what type of content is something that you would reshare? So that's, just something that we could be asking. And this is a question I've heard, and I don't know what the answer on this is, but if we have made a post in the morning, say we made a post at, some 9 o'clock in the morning, we made a post, and then you see something later on the day you want to reshare. Someone once told me that would impact what happens on our original post at that day. Is that accurate, or is that inaccurate?
Well, there's some validity to it, but also I want to say the value of a reshare is much lower than quality of original content.
Okay.
Just plain and simple, right? And so I wouldn't necessarily, if you're looking at the two posts like side by side, I wouldn't say like, oh, because the reshare didn't get as much engagement as the post that, you post at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's not a reflection there. It's just, you have to look at the actual content that you shared. Yeah. But then also, like, what are your time zones that you're working there? It's just a little bit more complicated than saying if you post twice a day. Because if you're posting something at 9 a.m. and at 4 p.m., I think personally that the LinkedIn algorithm takes longer to warm up than some of the other algorithms. And so that's why I think posting right away in the morning on LinkedIn is a great idea, because one, people have it in their routine, especially if they're in like business development or how they're using it. There's job searching, all of the different things that they might be checking LinkedIn in the morning. Yeah. But also if it takes a little bit to get warmed up, then that post that you made at 4, it could, be a little bit more active than the next day. But
Okay.
then if you're posting another piece of original content that next morning, it can just like get overlooked.
Okay. Okay. So it's just to think through how you're moving through it and not be afraid to
Yeah.
repost because it can really
No, not at all.
create the engagement, that sort of thing. So I like that.
Hmm.
That's what I
Yeah.
but where I was really going with that.
And let me just pause you on the one. I feel like you're really good. And I don't know necessarily that you're doing this with LinkedIn polls, but you poll people. And
Mm-hmm.
that also could be a way to say, instead of just like, you can ask your followers, like, what would be reshareable? But you could also ask, like, what's hot on your, what's your, what's the hot topics for you? And then you
Yeah.
can create content around that, because
Yeah.
then that's going to be more likely to be reshared anyways.
Yeah.
And so it's just
Yeah.
like a little bit of a reframe of how you ask the poll
Yeah. I
or what's
like
in the
that a
poll.
lot. I like it a lot. I know I was going to ask you was how do you know, how does someone know when it's time to outsource their social media work with someone like you?
Well, one, if you're taking too long to hit the publish button,
Right.
that's like a real easy
Yeah.
sign. But also, the way that we do social media is to batch things. And so that it feels like there is like a holistic, synchronized theme to the month. And so a really easy way to do that is through batching. And if you can't block off time to do some of your social media posts, and you're constantly like, the morning of, oh my gosh, it's been 6 days since the last time I posted, and then you're in a rush to post something because you think you need something to be
Yeah.
up there, then you're not carving out that time, and then maybe you should just be passing it along to someone else.
Yeah.
Also, if you know that your voice has more capability than like what your imagery is showing, that might
Mm-hmm.
be a time as well.
Yeah.
We do something that we call audio waves. And so let's say that there's somebody that wants to get into podcasting, but they're not sure about it yet. And so we create content that looks like small bite-sized pieces from a podcast episode that gives them their voice and their tonality and their look out there. And that's not something that a lot of people would do on their own. So if they're
Yeah.
ready to just like up level the imagery
Yeah.
of video, or just also they're just like stylistically on their graphics and things, go for it, right? It
Yeah. Yeah.
makes a really big difference.
Yeah. And I know you've also got a train the trainer. So if somebody has someone on their team that can take
Hmm.
over, tell us just a little bit about that program that you've got.
Yeah, so I'll give an example. We had an executive assistant that was working for a consulting firm, and she didn't have enough hours in what she was doing for the CEO and the executive team. And so the CEO reached out and said, okay, we think we could handle this in-house, but the person that we have doesn't know anything about social media. And she came from the teaching industry. So it was, like a totally new skill set. Of course, she's on Instagram, but that's her extent of knowledge. And so we took her through this 4-month training package to have her understand what it looks like to follow brand standards and stylistic guides and things, but then also like what we were talking about, what are the metrics that move the needle? How is it that you look at the end of the month and understand what your analytics are telling you? By looking at the analytics, you can say like, oh, this content resonates. How can I create a post that's similar to this,
Yeah.
that like mocks the layout and the structure of this? Maybe the next time we do it in video form, or next time we do it in carousel form, but it's a similar kind of messaging and things like that. So we just walked her all the way through a 4-month training package where we trained her while doing the first month ourselves to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And then we showed her how to do that over the next 3 months. What was so lovely about this experience for her, or for the CEO, was in their team meetings, she now had this new purpose. And her voice, she was there. And because social media is a team effort, especially when you're working for a company, she had things to talk about in the team meeting. Hey guys, when you're going to that conference, I really need you to take some pictures from the trade show or trade show floor and all this. And she had a purpose. And the CEO was like, this is like almost a new employee,
Yeah. It's like
because
it gave her
we
some energy
invested
too.
in her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
love it.
it opened this creative outlet for her. And there are plenty of times that somebody is on the team where they have an extra 20 hours a month,
Yeah.
And they have an appropriate person. They just need to understand what a strategy is. And then we create an entire year-long plan if they need ideas. A
Yeah.
lot of times they go off on their own and they're like, oh my gosh, I've come up with this new theme or this new series that like is working really well. And they don't need the plan any longer. But
Yeah.
if all of a sudden they're like going on vacation, they're like, okay, I need a couple of quick posts. They go back to the plan, pull some ideas out, because we all go through little dry spells of creativity.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think the other part is like even people may have someone who's already doing content for them, but it can really take them to that next
Yeah.
level is where I see
And
too.
integrate AI
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right? Because there's a lot of like concern of like, how do we do this? How does it
Yeah.
not look like AI when actually there is a person that's doing this?
Yeah. 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 Any tips on that? Because I think that is an important part. It's like, I think AI is a great tool for us that can really, enable us to create more that's aligned with what we're trying to do. So we can spend more of our time building relationships and all of that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
AI is a great tool, but we don't want to sound just like that, like it's just come right out of AI. Any tips on that?
To vary the length of your captions. This sounds kind of silly, but AI can create long captions over and over, right? You're not creating a blog post out of every single social media
Yeah.
post, right? So like
Yeah.
have a post that has 2 sentences in it and maybe no emojis and no dashes and things like that. Just like be really aware of where are the emojis? What does actually, when you look at social media posts, what makes you think, oh, that AI wrote that?
Yeah.
And take
It's the
that
phrase,
and filter
it's
that.
not just this, it's that,
Yeah.
it's not just a
Whether
conference,
this,
it's
yeah.
this, it's like, those are like, my God, don't use those. Yeah.
Yes, yes. That also, I made that social media post on LinkedIn last week about using fonts inside of your
Yes, you did.
captions and
Mm-hmm.
how that can really affect your SEO. It can affect your readability because there's a lot of things on disabilities and making sure that your content is appropriate for all viewers as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you use that bold font or you use the italics, the social media platform cannot read it. And so let's say that
Interesting.
you have 3 keywords that are in your caption and you use the bold font, you're not
Okay.
getting any credit or like there's no love for those when they're
Yeah.
bolded because it literally views it as nothing there.
Wow.
And so making sure that you're not overcomplicating social
Yeah.
media, right? If you're all
Yeah.
of a sudden, I have to go over to this platform to get my bold fonts to come back. Well, there's a reason that LinkedIn isn't providing you bold fonts.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if they did, use them.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're writing an article, they provide bold fonts and headings and all the different things to like have a longer form. But like that's back to the concept of your posts don't have to be a miniature blog post. They can just be something fun. And I talk to clients all the time, like, let's really focus on gratitude. How can you call out fellow people in your industry or vendors, or how can
I
you
love those.
create
Yeah.
more of that like camaraderie?
Yeah.
Because they're going to then reshare that too. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're rippling out to new audiences as well through
Yeah.
that gratitude.
I love it. I love it so much. Gosh, we could keep talking so much. Couple things. So you've been part of my mastermind community this past year, which has been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Just anything that you'd love to share that your experience has been in the mastermind community?
Yeah. So it was really interesting. At the very start of this podcast, I was thinking to myself, so I attended Cami and Paula's Soul Speaks from the Stage event, which is a piece of the mastermind. And it's all about dropping into your body. And so when we started the podcast, I almost said like, hey, you want to take a sec to drop in? I mean, I was already, but just
Yeah.
to like reiterate what it looks like to be
Yeah.
authentically you, not staged. And I don't have anything memorized. I am having an authentic conversation with my friend Cami.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that was a beautiful 3 days of working on things. And since then, I've developed some other things that have like pushed me forward in my business. In a mastermind or something that is reoccurring keeps you a little under pressure, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay,
Gotta keep
we're
going
gonna
here.
address
Keep
this.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my friends in the mastermind, and I actually just was in this other group. It's just for entrepreneurs, and we get together and talk about things. And I knew that my friend was going to have this other thing accomplished and I didn't. And so
Yeah.
like any form of that accountability,
Yeah.
but a mastermind is a great resource of that because you get women who are on a path that are committed and wanting to move their needle on their business
Yeah.
in a good structured way, right? And then you get to be held accountable and led by Cami.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shawn. Where can people
Mm-hmm.
learn more about you and your business?
Sure. So I'm at socialtonic.us is our website, and then Social Tonic on LinkedIn and Shawn Teasley on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Favorite
Awesome.
place,
Awesome.
LinkedIn.
Yep. LinkedIn. Okay. And then the final question I always close with is, what are 3 pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave with us today?
Love that. Okay. So the idea, do you need to give yourself permission, or you can even ask a friend, hey, I'm struggling with this thing. Could you give me permission? So this concept of like, I'm giving you permission today to maybe take an entire month off of posting on LinkedIn and come back, or Facebook, and see what transpires over that break, right? We all need vacations and things.
Yeah.
So give yourself permission to reboot, restart. I don't know, it might not even be about your social media, but if inside of you, there's knowing. And
Yeah.
so sometimes it's just really nice to get permission from another person. And you can say, hey, I'm struggling with this thing. Could you imagine giving me permission for something to help me release this?
Nice. Nice. I
I
love
love
that.
that. I think when we're scrolling through social media, and I'm talking about gratitude, generosity goes a long way. And so commenting on people's posts is a way of sharing generosity and cheering
Yeah.
people along.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, so we'll go back to this concept of this will go to the I'm scared to push hit publish. If you think about it, the people who you're connected, the likelihood is they want to be your cheerleader. They want to comment. Maybe they're kind of rushing around doing something, and so they only give you a like or something, or they don't, but they totally see your content. But the generosity of that comment and engaging with somebody is my number 2. But then also the people who are following you, they want to cheerlead you. They want to see your content and they're there for similar reasons. And so maybe that could take a little bit of the like nervousness and help you be a little more brave in that way to publish your content.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. Thank you so much, Shawn, for joining me today and just sharing all your good
Yeah.
wisdom. I know a lot of people are going to get a lot of use out of all your good wisdom that you shared today. And thanks for being with us.
Thank you.